So it is a couple of weeks' time for Liverpool against Manchester United. And do you know, it felt the story this week was all about Manchester United winning back-to-back games, which they hadn't done since the back end of the 2023-24 season. And it felt like Amorim himself was talking up the fact they really need to go and win back-to-back games and putting pressure on the team. And then they go to Brentford and find themselves on the wrong end of another defeat. And you're wondering which way this story goes next. 33 games in charge now for Ruben Amorim at Manchester United. He's taken 34 points from those matches, 17 defeats, and a win ratio of just 27%. How does this play out, Andy?
For me, I think it's difficult to see it changing. They don't seem to have any kind of flexibility. I think he's made it really clear that they're not going to change formation.
Well, he keeps saying he needs time.
Yeah, but how long? You know, there's I do believe in giving managers and coaches time, but I also believe that you have to be seen to, or you have to be able to see the improvements. You have to be able to see, I can see where they're going with this. And I don't really see that with Man United. I'm seeing the same things this season that I seen last season. I don't really see enough athleticism, particularly in the middle of the pitch. So to play the way that he wants them to play, you need to have really, really athletic midfielders. They don't seem to have that. And for me, the biggest thing about Man United is that there's no real fear factor about playing against them anymore. You know, Brentford, we played against Man United teams where, you go into Old Trafford or even they're coming to you and you think, this is going to be a hell of a game today. It's not really that feeling. Teams are going into these games now thinking, we can beat these. And that's a big, big problem as well.
Yeah, I think, they use the same shape as Crystal Palace, 5-2-3, and I just don't see them being a dominant force. So
what's the difference?
In that
Explain
shape.
to us what's the difference.
Well, Crystal Palace, the game is built on being solid and transitioning, and I don't see that being acceptable at Manchester United. I don't see you being able to be a Manchester United team that sits behind the ball and just transitions. You need to go and dominate the game, and you need to take the ball. I don't think you see many top sides around Europe playing with a back five. Don't think you see many at all. So I'm still really interested to see how he does with it, because he's still obviously a work in progress. They've added a lot of players in the summer, but as Andy rightly says, there hasn't been real signs of improvement, and it looks tough for Amorim at the minute. You see him having to do his press, and it looks like a real tough grind for him at this moment, which is not nice to see someone go through. And I hope he manages to turn it around, because I know he'll be giving every moment of every day to try and turn it around. And I hope they do, but it's going to need a big change for me. It's going to need something. They're going to need to put an unbelievable run of results together to start to convince people that this can turn into the Man United that we're used to seeing.
Well, it's Sunderland next before the international break. Do managers sort of feel a bit more stress about these games going into an international break, especially if you're on a difficult run?
Yeah, I suppose it is a natural time for clubs to look to make changes. I love to see managers given time. As I'm biased, I'm a manager, so I want them to all be given time and to be given the opportunity to show how good they are. But international breaks we do tend to see more changes, and let's make no bones about it. Sunderland at home, newly promoted side, when you're Manchester United, with the run they're on, is going to be a must-win for them. It's a big, big game.
Sunderland might be thinking the same thing, though, might they?
Sunderland be looking forward to going there, But
genuinely,
yeah, but why not? Why not? They've got off to a great start. They've just got a first win this evening, away from home. They'll be relishing the chance to go there, and all the pressure is on Man United. Sunderland sat in a really nice position, really healthy position. They go there, the crowd will be a bit anxious, waiting on the team to kind of give them something. Sunderland can just go there and do what they've done tonight. Sit in, make it really, really difficult, and hope that they can get something against. I think they'll be looking forward to the game.
Stevie Nicol, Manchester United losing at Brentford. It's happened 3 of the last 4 years. They've also now conceded 11 goals. Why do they struggle so much, and why did Brentford find playing Man United at home so easy right now?
Well, Brentford make it a fast-paced, physical game if they can. They try and make it about second balls. They try and put you under pressure. And Manchester United, for the last 2 or 3 seasons, possession-wise, just haven't been at it. And of course, when you're not under control of the ball, then it makes it easier for teams like Brentford, who, as I said, like to fight for second balls. And they just harried United, put them under pressure. United couldn't cope with that pressure. And 20 odd minutes in, they were 2-0 down. Could have been more. Bayindir made couple of great saves in that first half. And somehow by half time, United had gotten a goal from Šeško from absolutely nothing. And the strangest thing about the goal was there wasn't a person celebrating, including Šeško. He just sort of turned round and ran back to the halfway line. It was almost like, it was just strange. It was almost like they were thinking, how did we manage to score? Because it came from nothing. So, yeah, this is not a surprise. It was just scruffy for Manchester United. Listen, they were unlucky. The penalty kick they got was actually the one good move they had in the game. And Bruno Fernandes didn't finish it off. That would have changed things. It probably, in my opinion, would have finished at least even. And probably Collins should have been sent off. So, I mean, really going into the final part of the game, United should have had the control. They should have had numbers up, and they should have been the one pushing forward. Instead, no red card, doesn't score the penalty, and then Jensen finishes it off in stoppage time with a great strike, but a dodgy piece of goalkeeping. So, yeah, another bad day for Man United at Brentford.
And United fans won't want to hear the woulda, shoulda, coulda if he'd been sent off, if they'd scored the penalty. They lost again at Brentford. They're just another team in the Premier League, considering where they were under Sir Alex Ferguson. But that's like an eternity ago now. So this is what they are now. Is Ruben Amorim in the wrong movie?
Absolutely, yeah. I don't see how anybody could actually sit and think that somehow Amorim is going to turn this around. I mean, it really feels like he's dead man walking. I mean, there is all this talk about getting better and moving forward, and it's just propaganda. That's all it is. It's gobbledygook. I mean, there's absolutely nothing to see about any progress. They are, at best, as bad as they were last year. In truth, they're probably worse. So, yeah, there's just another average Premier League side right now with the name of Man United. Certainly nothing like the Man United of old.
But one thing that hasn't changed is those people who are making the decision as to who the next manager should be. Why should United fans trust them?
Well, I'm not really sure that they can. There's absolutely nothing going on at Old Trafford, whether it's on the field or off the field, to suggest that things are getting better or are going to get better. So I'm afraid if you're a United fan, you can't really see any light at the end of the tunnel. There's no huge kitty to go and bail yourself out with, that's for sure. It's tough to look at anything at United and hang your hat on in terms of what's changed, what's going to change, and what's going to get better. Every single thing about Manchester United right now seems like it's going down the drain.
Look at the back three for Manchester United today. Yes, they've got a brand new front three. They've got Cunha coming in. They've got Mbeumo coming in. They've got Šeško, who's now often running with his first Premier League goal. At the back, they've got De Ligt. They've got Luke Shaw. And they've got Harry Maguire. To the opening goal in the 8th minute. Stevie, as an international defender yourself back in the day, why is the high line as high as it is when you know you've got someone like Jordan Henderson in opposition that can pick a pass? What is he doing, Maguire? He's kind of putting a step forward to take a step back and then realising I've made a mess of this. What is it about United defensively right now that just has to be ripped up and start all over again?
Well, there's a couple of things. Number one, Harry Maguire shouldn't have been on the field. You know, you're playing against a side whose front players, Shadi and Thiago, have got blistering pace. So the one guy you have in your side at centre-back is Yoro, but he's on the bench. De Ligt and Harry Maguire and Shaw aren't catching anybody with genuine pace. And so when you play a high line and then you play a centre back in Harry Maguire who isn't going to be able to catch anybody who's behind him, and then he has to gamble because he hasn't concentrated. Because if he'd been concentrated, he wouldn't have had to play offside. He could just have held his run on the halfway line, and Thiago would have been offside anyway. So, the manager's picked the wrong side. The manager's picked the wrong centre back for this particular game, considering the pace that Brentford have. And the man he did pick makes a horrible decision.
It's too easy for the opposition to get in behind Manchester United. With this 3, if you know you're in opposition to a manager that says, I ain't changing for no one, not even the Pope, and that's his quote, you know how you can get in behind, whether it's Dalot pushed too far forward or whether it's De Ligt not in position. That's how the second goal came about. Down the right-hand side, in behind, goalkeeper doesn't touch it, ball doesn't end up in the back of the net, but the keeper doesn't know what's around him. You're not blaming Bayindir, apart from the third goal, for the concession of the opening 2. But again, as a defender who played fullback, you've played centre-back as well, who's responsible for not picking up the driven cross that leads to Igor Thiago getting the second goal?
Well, the problem is where you started. As soon as you get in behind Manchester United, they're at 6s and 7s. Mm-hmm. Is it the wing back's fault that he's not deep enough? Is it one of the 3 centre backs who A, shouldn't have been caught in a high line and who don't get back? I mean, once Brentford get in behind United like they did on so many occasions, I mean, they lost 3 today. It could have been 5. Bayindir has made 2 brilliant saves in the first half and another one in the second half. I mean, we could be looking at 5 or 6 here. So, the fact of the matter is, again, we're kind of back to what we normally talk about United. The personnel they have on the field of play aren't good enough. We're not talking about situations where players are that good that they've just made a bad decision. This is a team and a defence that week in, week out, game in, game out, home or away, makes bad decisions. And I'm afraid players that aren't good enough make bad decisions. So this is not. I don't believe this is fixable. The kind of way I thought your question was, can you fix this, or what? How do you solve the problem? The only way United will solve the problem is by changing the personnel. And then right now we're talking about the back line, but there are changes in personnel they need all around the field. But in terms of the back line, not good enough. Need fresh faces, need more quality. Unfortunately, there's not a window till January, and I don't believe there's too much money in the kitty. So there's not a lot of light again at the end of the tunnel.
Ruben, you've talked about needing to build momentum after last weekend's win. Does that make today's result even more deflating?
Yeah, it's the feeling is always the same. Of course, we want to win. I think we didn't control the game. We played the game of Brentford. Really confused, second balls, first balls, set pieces, and all the moments, crucial moments they were against us. So tough to lose again, but we need to think about the next one.
We saw real fight from your United side against Chelsea last week. Did you see that today?
Yeah, in some moments, but we can do better. That is the main point.
You've conceded in every game so far in the league this season. How worrying is it for you as the manager when it seems to feel like it's a lot of the similar issues happening every week? Yeah,
the first ball was a long ball after a recovery. We work on that during the week. Set pieces work on that also. So we knew that the long balls and then one first touch, and they had the opportunity, and the goals were like that. But we worked during the week. We need to do better.
When you have had the whole week with no midweek football to contend with this season, and you've had all of that time on the training ground, why don't you think the players were able to put that into practice on the pitch today?
Well, today was we didn't play our game for just was some moments we had the control of the game. We pushed the opponent to the back, but the game was more or less always the same. Really, second balls, one balls, and then we need to play our game, not the opponent game, and they were stronger on that.
The results have been inconsistent so far this season, and you know well by now that every defeat that comes as Manchester United manager, you're only one step away from another crisis. How are you managing that?
It's always the same. To lose in this kind of club, we need to. It hurts a lot. We need to think about the next one.
The next one is Sunderland. So how important is it that you get a result in that game to go into the international break with a bit of positivity?
Everything is important in this club. So it's not just the games at home or whatever. We need to win every game, and we are not doing that.
We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Arsenal star Noni Madueke breaks silence after injury setback, confirmed by Mikel Arteta. Arsenal winger Noni Madueke has spoken out for the first time following the knee injury that has ruled him out for several weeks, as confirmed by manager Mikel Arteta. The 23-year-old suffered the setback early in last weekend's clash against Manchester City, and is now expected to be sidelined for 6 to 8 weeks. Taking to Instagram, Madueke shared a verse from Philippians 4 verse 6, NLT. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need, and thank Him for all He has done. The post offers a glimpse into the player's mindset, leaning on faith, staying grounded, and remaining positive in the face of adversity. Since his high-profile and somewhat surprising £48.5 million move from Chelsea, Madueke has quickly won over Arsenal fans with his energy, flair, and attacking presence. While eyebrows were initially raised at the transfer fee, few now question his impact, both for Arsenal and the England national team, where he recently netted his first goal in a 5-0 win over Serbia in Belgrade. Speaking ahead of Arsenal's League Cup tie against Port Vale, Arteta provided further updates on the situation. He'll be out for a few weeks. We're not entirely sure yet. We'll likely do another scan next week, Arteta said. He felt something early in the match and tried to carry on, but by half-time the pain had worsened. Thankfully, early indications suggest Madueke has avoided a serious ACL injury. When asked whether a short-term absence is more likely than a months-long layoff, Arteta added, "We hope so. As I said, we still need to assess it fully, but it doesn't seem too severe at the moment." In Madueke's absence, Arsenal still boasts solid depth in the attacking third. Youngster Max Dowman is expected to feature against Port Vale, while Gabriel Martinelli, Ethan Nwaneri, and Leandro Trossard are all in contention for minutes. The hope within the club is that Madueke will return to action by November 8 against Sunderland, just ahead of the highly anticipated North London derby versus Tottenham on November 23. However, he's almost certain to miss England's next international break, which follows crucial Arsenal fixtures against Newcastle, Olympiacos, and West Ham. With the 2026 World Cup on the horizon and a spot in Thomas Tuchel's England squad up for grabs, Madueke knows how important the months ahead are. Despite this temporary setback, the winger has shown resilience, and if his performances this season are any indication, he'll come back stronger than ever. Madueke's injury comes at a delicate time for Arsenal, who are juggling domestic competitions alongside a demanding European schedule. With squad rotation more crucial than ever, Arteta must now rely on the depth and adaptability of his attacking unit, especially as the club enters a period packed with high-stakes fixtures. Internally, the coaching staff is said to be cautiously optimistic. According to sources close to the medical team, Madueke is responding well to initial treatment, and there's no indication of long-term structural damage. However, his rehabilitation will be closely monitored, with particular care taken to avoid setbacks. Arsenal's medical department is expected to carry out a follow-up MRI scan next week to determine the full extent of the strain and adjust the recovery timeline accordingly. The injury has also sparked significant discussion among supporters and analysts alike, particularly around Madueke's workload and physical management since his arrival. Despite being only a few months into his Arsenal career, Madueke has featured heavily both for club and country, raising concerns about player burnout, especially in a season with little breathing room between international breaks. In the short term, the winger's absence places added responsibility on players like Martinelli and Trossard, both of whom have had inconsistent fitness records themselves. Ethan Nwaneri, although still very young, could see more minutes in wide roles as Arteta continues to integrate youth into the first-team environment. There's also speculation that Reiss Nelson, who has seen limited action this season, could benefit from an increased role during Madueke's recovery period. National team manager Thomas Tuchel has also been made aware of Madueke's condition, as England begins early preparations for the upcoming World Cup qualifiers. Though the injury rules Madueke out of the next international window, his recent performances have left a strong impression within the national team setup. A return to form in November or December could be enough to keep him in contention for a spot in the squad heading into the new year. Meanwhile, within the Arsenal camp, the mood remains focused. Speaking to reporters after the Port Vale match, several senior players expressed their support for Madueke, describing him as a positive influence in the dressing room and praising his quick adaptation to the club's playing style and philosophy. As the winger begins his recovery, all eyes will be on how Arsenal adjusts, and whether they can maintain their attacking rhythm without one of their most dynamic wide players. While the timing is far from ideal, both the player and the club appear aligned in their cautious yet determined approach. Further updates on Madueke's fitness are expected following next week's medical assessments.